In this video, I'll be sharing the top 5 reasons why you need to get on board with accessibility in e-learning. If you've been working in e-learning for a while now, whether as an instructional designer or actually working on the authoring tools, you'll know that accessibility has been changing drastically over the last few years. There's so many options available now, and there's so much information out there. So we're going to distill the reasons why you actually need to be on board and understand accessibility measures in the 21st century. In the 20th century, the burden fell on anyone needing accessibility measures to make change themselves, whether that be asking for accommodation, launching a petition, or a legal battle, or sometimes avoiding situations altogether because the battle was just too great for one single person to fight. In the 21st century, designers have taken that onus upon themselves. We are responsible for making sure that we have limited the barriers and created bridges wherever possible. So this leads us into the first most important reason why accessibility measures need to be in place in your e-learning. It's just the right thing to do. Your sense of ethics should be incredibly important to you as a designer and an educator, especially for everyone, but especially as someone who tries to improve people's lives through education. Having accessibility measures in place from the very beginning reduces stigma and outsider status for anyone needing those accommodations. Anyone can be faced with accessibility needs during their lifetime. We never know what's going to happen. So it's important that you treat others as you would like to be treated. The golden rule exists in every religion and culture for a reason. It's simply the right thing to do. The second critical reason why accessibility needs to be built into your e-learning is law. In Ontario, Canada, where I practice, we have to abide by AODA and the WCAG 2.0 Level A. These basically cover the responsive approach to accessibility. When someone asks for accommodation, we have to be able to provide it. There are some proactive pieces in there, but it's nothing comprehensive and nothing like what we're building towards in the 21st century. In other provinces or countries, there may be similar laws or guidelines at least that do exist. There should be. This isn't brand new. However, I find that different organizations and companies are willing to just skate by with the bare minimum because of the perceived cost and time savings that it gives them. Now, the risks are going to increase as different countries start adopting the WCAG 2.0 Level AA. In Canada, we need to meet this by 2021. That's coming up really quickly. Your country may not have laws in place to prepare themselves for this, but it is an international document created by the World Wide Web Consortium. E-learning is international, hosted on the web, created with teams that may be located all over the world. So it makes sense that we all aim towards compliance. And the sooner you start building towards compliance, the better your e-learning will be in quality and the more prepared you will be if that ever comes into law in your country. We need to be building right now in compliance with the WCAG 2.0 Level AA. Even if your work isn't completely rendered obsolete, it's still going to take so much work to retroactively make these e-learning objects fall into compliance. At that point, you may just want to create something completely new. So why not future-proof everything you're producing starting today instead? That leads us to point number 3. Be a leader and establish organizational norms where you work. New graduates should be completely up to date with accessibility technology today. If you've been in the industry for a while, though, you'll actually need to do this research on your own because it's critical to your job going forward. If you seek out training on accessibility, you'll be prepared to teach your teammates, to build accessibility guidelines, and shape all productions within your team to make sure everybody's on the same page, that branding stays consistent, that the feel of your production stay consistent, and people know what to expect from you if they go to you for learning. If you work in a large organization and need to collaborate with other departments to provide training on anything that they produce, you need to start talking to them about accessibility now as well. I'll give you a fantastic example. If you produce training for any proprietary softwares developed by your information technology team, you need to be thinking now about not only the e-learning that you're going to produce to teach that software, but also whether the software is accessibility compliant itself. After all, you can't build accessible e-learning for a software that is not accessible. A common problem is that drop-downs are used in software. Not every drop-down is designed to be read by a screen reader. So how are you going to be able to teach people to use a software that their screen reader cannot read to them? These sorts of problems can't be edited out during e-learning production. This is an actual barrier that your learner will face as they try to perform their job. So you can become a leader for not only your team or your department, but for your entire organization. Your proactivity about this will make you a subject matter expert on accessibility. And this is skyrocketing. This is so important in e-learning for your future career prospects as well. You want to be the person that people go to and trust when it comes to accessibility measures. The fourth reason is that there's just so much to learn about accessibility. If you or a close loved one doesn't need accessibility measures at this point in your lives, You may not be aware of the huge range of different needs that may need to be met. You'll want to do research into the 4 major areas that need to be addressed: visual, auditory, motor, and cognitive. I personally find cognitive the most challenging. That's because the needs can present themselves very differently in each individual person. There are some surprisingly easy best practices you can follow, though. A really fantastic e-learning specific document that addresses all 4 areas and can give you somewhere to start is called Barriers to Bridges, and I'll link below. Accessibility measures can help more than just the intended audience. The classic example of why universal design helps so many people is the curb of a sidewalk. Also helps make life easier for a mom or a dad who's pushing a stroller. It also makes life easier for a kid with a broken leg and very short legs and needs to lift themselves over onto the sidewalk. Plus, everyone is going to grow old someday. So having a curb that's low helps elderly people as well as they're trying to make their way across the street. A clear example of these universal benefits in e-learning design comes with the audio portion of e-learning. Closed captioning is one of the first measures you should already be taking in your e-learning. And the reason that this benefits so many people is not only for the hearing impaired, it's also for people who may speak English as a second language, who may actually be doing e-learning on language learning. Having subtitle options is extremely helpful. It also makes your e-learning far more flexible. If your e-learning is available on their mobile device, they may be on the train home from work one day, want to check in with this e-learning, but don't have headphones. So rather than stopping there, if you have subtitles, they're able to turn off the sound and still participate in the e-learning experience with the captioning available to them. So these were just my top 5 reasons for why accessibility needs need to be taken into consideration for e-learning starting today. It's worth it to put that initial time and research investment into making sure that your e-learning is accessible. It benefits so many people. Your quality of work will improve drastically. And you'll be a leader. You'll have amazing career prospects because this is only an area that will continue to grow. And so many more options are going to be available to us. Did I miss a reason for why accessibility needs to be in e-learning today? Please share with us in the comments below. If you liked this video and want to learn more about e-learning and also how you can learn more creatively, be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell below. That's all for today's video. Thank you and see you next time.